between the brilliance of the show Andor and the awkwardness of the show Obi-Wan lies Ahsoka. A pretty decent series that relies on good acting, decent atmosphere, a fair amount of fan service, and just passable enough writing. Considering this is a Dave Filoni project, I'm actually kind of shocked this first season turned out as good as it did, considering that his first seasons of shows usually aren't that great. But yes, while the writing is the weakest part of the show, it by no means destroys it, and I did come out very satisfied. Ahsoka Tano is searching for Admiral Thrawn, who, if you remember, disappeared into a galaxy even farther away than where we are now, with Ezra, the friend of her apprentice, Sabine. But an evil Sith Lord and his apprentice is also on the search for him. As everyone says, if Admiral Thrawn returns, it could be the rise of the Empire. Sabine wants to use the information Ahsoka has to find her friend, and hopefully not doom the entire galaxy by also finding Thrawn. But that's tricky, as Ahsoka and Sabine have had a huge falling out and she's no longer teaching her. Will they figure out a way to work together and travel across the galaxy in order to find their friend and hopefully not, I guess, lead to the underwhelming war we already know we got? So, okay, let me talk about my favorite thing in this entire show, the acting. On the one hand, I can see some people not being into this because it's not exactly the same as the animated shows. But I think that's really intentional. Characters like Ahsoka and Hera are very different here, but it makes sense they would be different. I like the fact that Ahsoka is such a well-developed character that she can still evolve. If you want the young, quippy, upbeat girl that you got from Clone Wars, well, that's not who Ahsoka is anymore, and I don't think she should be. To me, this is very much like comparing Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan and Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan. One has a lot more life and energy, and the other is a little slower, a little wiser, and isn't as surprised by much because he's kind of just seen everything. Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka is the same. It's not really a performance where she's really saying a lot of one-liners or giving big reactions. Everything's kind of restrained a little bit, but in a way that makes sense. I love watching her reactions to everything. I love the way she holds herself. I love the way she turns. I love the way she'll kind of raise an eyebrow or give a little smirk. She plays it as someone who has been through the ringer and has come out the other end smarter. The kind of person who knows but doesn't tell. Hera's the same. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw this actress playing the part, it wasn't really how I imagined Hera. I don't know. This didn't really look or sound right to me, but as soon as she got a few lines in, I bought it. It made sense. She also has seen a lot, therefore knows a lot, and therefore calculates a lot more things going on around her. You constantly see the gears always kind of turning in her head whenever she's trying to figure out a situation. If there is a weak link in the show, it's probably Sabine. If you recall my review of Rebels, I wasn't exactly the biggest fan of this character to begin with. The only time I found it really interesting is whenever it went to her backstory on Mandalore. I thought all of that was really cool, so I guess I should probably like this character more because she is a lot more serious and does tie into more of the dramatic stuff that I like with the character. But even at the end of Rebels, when you see Ahsoka there about to train Sabine, I just remember thinking to myself, why? I guess there's no reason why not, but I also didn't really see much of a connection between the two of them, which I guess you could argue is kind of the point here. They don't have much of a connection. They don't really fit together. They're at odds with each other, and they don't always get along, and they don't always agree, and okay, I guess that can kind of be interesting, but I just feel like there's so many other characters that Ahsoka would be more interesting with. And this Sabine, again, I get it, is jaded and doesn't like that she had a falling out with her master, but she also talks about Ezra like he was the second coming of Christ. I don't remember their friendship being this strong. There's literally a moment where she makes a bonehead move that pretty much dooms the galaxy just so she can see her friend again. But when they do meet up with Ezra, and I don't think that's a spoiler, I think you kind of know that's gonna happen, he kind of brings the levity needed, and the actor portrays him really well, better than the animated series. I guess a lot of people thought he was pretty bratty, and yeah, I agree, I think this guy does a better job. The Sith Lord and his apprentice are fantastic. I hate the fact that this guy passed away. I am so angry we're not gonna get more performances from him because he was so good in this. Once again, he got across so much while doing so little. It was just a little bit of a turn and raising an eyebrow and just stuff that Ahsoka kinda did too. Like, they actually seem pretty evenly matched. I thought they really handled this well. And while his apprentice doesn't say much, he's got those great crazy eyes. I just love how much these actors are saying without having to actually verbally say anything. Thrawn is so much better in live action. I hate saying that because, you know, I love animation. I think it can do amazing things, but this style of animation was not what Thrawn needed. If you're gonna show Thrawn, you have to show him in like an anime style, a style where he can be really still. You can't do that with this animation. If it's too still, it's gonna look like it's not alive or it's broken or something. But in live action, even the same actor can give the exact same performance, but actually seeing him there being so still makes a huge difference. I was actually kind of wondering, why is everyone so afraid of this guy? I remember him in Rebels, and he really wasn't that big a threat. I did not find him that intimidating. But here, when you see his army and this almost Empire cult he's put together, I kind of go, okay, yeah, I can see why it's bad if this guy returns. I so wish this is what the First Order was like. Get rid of Snoke and the Emperor and Shouty McScream Shout. I mean, just put Adam Driver in this Empire, and I really think those movies would have turned out great. It's also nice to see Hayden Christensen return with, well, somebody that knows how to direct actors. I'm sorry, I didn't like him in Obi-Wan, and obviously I didn't like him in the prequel, so when you see him walking around talking to Ahsoka, I do really feel like this is the same Anakin I got from the show. Obviously they sound alike, but his delivery seemed on point. It really felt like they had this connection. I had no trouble believing this was the same guy from Clone Wars, even if his appearance did kind of feel a little pointless. Yeah, okay, let's get to the one major flaw with this show, and like I said, I don't think it's major enough to destroy it: the writing. This is nowhere near the worst writing we've had for Star Wars, and like I said, it's hard to even say it's that bad. It's just standard. Everybody does the standard things you would think these characters would do, and they say the standard things you'd think they would say. After a meeting doesn't go well, somebody says, well, that went well. When they're introducing Sabine in front of this big crowd and she's supposed to make a big speech, guess what happens? It's exactly what you think happens. She's not there and she's driving away because, oh, she hates all that official stuff, which I love because that means she had to literally go from home to the city just so she could go from the city to home. There was no reason for this except to have a chase scene where they go, Sabine, you get back here. I also never fully understood the Sith Lord's plan. Like, he talks about, we just want power, we want balance, and it's just a little too vague. Like, I get it, the dark side, the light side, there's even some characters in between, but this guy was so interesting. I really do want a little bit more explanation. I don't know, maybe we'll get in the future. With a different actor, please, don't do this. There's a lot of scenes where people just do stuff that flat out doesn't make any sense. And it either just coincidentally works in their favor, or even sometimes doesn't work in their favor. If you really think about the choices these characters make, you kind of realize a lot of lives are going to be lost for some very dumb reasons, which, again, I guess is nothing new in Star Wars, but you kind of hope it would evolve beyond this. With that said, I think Filoni does realize you do have to structure a live-action show different than an animated show. It does have to go a little slower, you do have to take your time a bit more, and you have to set up atmosphere. The performances have to be different too, and effects and timing and how you show stuff, and I actually do like that the show does take its time. It's not in a rush. Again, because I think they are aware they have a good cast here, they do just let them react to things, and that's always my favorite part of stuff like this. Just seeing these great actors react to other great actors. And overall, while it never really got to any big ideas or big battles or big character moments, the moment where Sabine and Ezra meet up is surprisingly kind of underwhelming. I actually thought Ahsoka and him meeting up was more emotional. I still feel like there's enough that kept me really interested. I don't know if they're going to do a season 2 or if they're just going to continue these characters in other Star Wars properties. Honestly, I think that might be the best. I don't know if the show has enough momentum for a season 2. But at the same time, I want to see what happens to these people. I want to see these actors again. Though I will give the warning right now, if you have not seen the other shows with these characters, Clone Wars and Rebels and so forth, you'll be able to follow this, but I don't know how much you're gonna care about it. They keep talking about these characters and their connections to them, and yeah, you can talk about all you want, but unless you see it, unless you're there with the characters, I don't think the writing does well enough to really make you understand why these people are as interesting as they are. But if you have seen the shows, I think the series is interesting enough. It takes its time, has some good effects, has some good action, like I said, some really great acting. It's serviceable enough where I would feel bad if I didn't see it. I would feel like I was missing out on something. Just not a great something, but a good something. So if you think that's something, I would definitely say check this show out.